Thanks for joining us. I'm Beverly Thompson. It's February 1st, which also means it's the first day of Black History Month. The commemoration of the Black History Month dates back to 1926 in the United States, but didn't become officially recognized in Canada until December 1995. The month is dedicated to celebrating the many achievements and contributions of Black Canadians to the country's history and culture. This year feels more important after the events of 2020. The death of George Floyd in May sparked protests and renewed calls for racial justice all around the world. For more, let's bring in Nadia Brown, political science and African American studies professor with Purdue University. And she joins us from Indianapolis, Indiana. Good to have you on the program to talk about this. So given much of what happened, in 2020, how important is the February Black History Month this year?
Thank you for having me, Beverly. So this month is particularly important as Americans and people throughout the world try to contextualize what the Black experience means. And it's more than just a flash in the pan of seeing racial injustice, but where is the legacy? What is the history of racism and anti-Semitism, of homophobia, right? All these other things that we know are wrapped up into how people from non-dominant groups experience life in the world. And this is just one example of which we can use this month as a way to teach people about the rich history and legacies of people of African descent throughout the world.
And are you hopeful, and do you think that these lessons and the celebration of this month will have a lot more attention? People will be watching and listening to a lot more than they may have done in the past because of world events?
I certainly hope so. I think that what we saw this summer, the summer of racial reckoning, was an understanding that there's an unequal world, right? That people of African descent have different lived experiences, different relationship, particularly to police and policing. And many people wanted to learn about this. Why is it? There were numerous book clubs and dialogue conversations that were had in May. It's so important that this continues on past the summer, and Black History Month gives us one example, an opportunity to be able to continue this public education into a larger and much further, deeper step.
Yeah, and that larger, bigger step is making sure the conversation, that people take part in the conversation that maybe otherwise hadn't done so in the past, reaching into other groups and getting them to talk about it. Are you optimistic that that also is happening?
Unfortunately, I'm not so optimistic right now. Particularly in America, we see a double down on really racism and anti-Blackness, particularly as the country gears up to hold Donald Trump accountable in this impeachment. But what we're seeing is that white supremacy is getting a pass. And I unfortunately believe that we'll continue to see some of this through Black History Month as a call to divide people as opposed to celebrate the differences, and a place where people can come and understand using history, using political science, economics, sociology, anthropology, all the ways in which we understand the Black experience as a way not to hold white supremacy to account.
And what will you be looking for, in terms of not just February, but, moving forward in general? So that what would it take for you to say, we're making some progress? What would you like to see?
Yeah, that's a great question, a pie in the sky kind of question. Things that I would like to see is when Black history, Black diasporic history, is taught in classrooms that is fulfilling of Black's humanity, not just spotlighting a few key history makers like Rosa Parks or Martin Luther King or Barack Obama, but understanding that our history is complex, it's nuanced, and that there are people who've had multiple different visions of what unity would look like, about what equality would look like. And we have to tell those stories and really examine the structures that enabled people to kind of come to these kind of different recognitions of what Black humanity and fullness of equality would look like. So it starts really, really young at trying to have a much different narrative of how we teach Black history.
Interesting. Nadia Brown, great to talk to you about this, and thank you for joining us on February the 1st.
Thank you for having me, Beverly.